food prices. And the specific question we wanted to address was, what are the impacts of these food prices, the gender impacts? How does women suffer? How does men suffer? What are the interventions? What are some of the actions and sponsored by the actors to try to mitigate the impacts of food prices? So in this presentation, we're trying to answer these questions, and we are going to focus on some of the questions which are very pertinent. Are women deprived of productive resources in agriculture? Do women have access to markets for agricultural products? Do they have access to primary and secondary education? Do they have access to adequate food? The lack of choice in violent relationships, the access to livelihood services and social protection assistance. Looking at that one by one, we are going to help you to appreciate the implication of each of those questions. So the deprivation of productive resources. The study found that more women are tied in subsistence agriculture. The things like beans, millet, and sorghum, which does not have a lot of value. And we found that only 33% of women are engaged in other production that can give them income, like livestock are now few, oil seeds like soya. Somebody already said when you have few livestock, then you are considered poor. So women actually don't have the livestock at all. Oil seeds like soybeans and sunflower, which has money value, are not undertaken by women. So women are unable to increase production even in the face of increased food price. When we have better chances of selling something, women don't have the capacity to increase their production. Why so? Because of the limited access to resources like land, limited access to resources like labor. So then secondly, there's labor burden. Women, there is that gender division of labor. Women must provide food. Men must eat the food. So why is that? It's the women to provide food. See? So it's really a very bad thing. Then the financial resources is also a problem. Women are struggling to get some little resources, but again, they are diverting these resources to what? To provide food. So I get my money, I want to invest and get something better out of it, but I have to buy food because women must provide food. So even that financial source is a big problem. So the implications are there's a multidimensional approach to address these barriers. That is at a more long-term period. So we're looking at breaking barriers. We're looking at breaking economic and social barriers. But we're also asking, what can we do in the short term? What are the viable policy options that we can do now? In the short term, we can look at trying to food security. Look at food security, trying to enhance factors that enhance resilience of food shocks in the household. We need to improve their access to livestock because livestock are only run by men. So because we found out that these are areas that bring money, but there's no woman who has a livestock which is of their own. If it's for the family, then it's run by a man, not by a woman. We need to enhance women's participation in village loan schemes. We have just seen the previous president talk about loan schemes, but the dynamics of women in Uganda is very different. For you to participate or get yourself involved in a loan scheme, you must have a source of income. You must have something that allows you to participate in that. What are you going to contribute? Where are you going to get money from? Do you have land? They don't have land. Do you have any other source of income? I don't have. So you have nothing. So basically, you can't join that loan scheme, and yet it's that loan scheme that can help you fight vulnerability. Access to extension services and farm tools are also skewed towards the men. So that one is for access to resources. The second question is on education. Girl child deprived of education. Why so? Our findings found that girls' education is not a priority when food price shock strikes. It is very easy. We just withdraw a girl from school, say you'll be supporting me in what your father will say. You'll be supporting me in petty business, your father will go to school. 21% pulled out girls out of school and forced them to early marriage. So 68% of women took a loan, but the bad news is that those households are also reporting early marriage. So there is that question hiding down there. Are girls being used to pay for the loans? What is happening in those households? Do girls pay for the price if a household fails to pay for the loan? We need some time to answer that question because we did not go deep into that. So this is the challenge with education. So the implication is here that there's disproportionate impact of food price shocks on girls' education that require deliberate intervention in policy and programming. So what is viable for now is that we need to prioritize girls' education, and it would require food assistance both at home and in the school. In most of the schools in the community of Uganda, school feeding is not prioritized. It's actually not taken seriously. Some parents think it's a way of teachers' schools eating money and is increasing cost of things. But where school feeding has been done, like in Karamoja and other parts of Eastern North Uganda, it has been really successful in maintaining girls in school and also trying to improve educational outcomes. So we want this to move forward. So we want to engage parents, teachers associations, school management committees, sensitize them to buy in the idea of school feeding program. But there is also that small question down there where we're saying, is financial assistance for girls' child an option during food crisis? How is it possible for a government like Uganda, where they say primary and secondary education is free, or post-free in quotes? How do we bring in the equation for the financial support for the girl child? It's a very important question. So that answer for us brings us to the conclusion of that. The next question we looked at was deprivation for adequate food. We already saw that women are sacrificing food. 67% of women cut off their meals when there is less food. And why do they do this? It's because they want to sacrifice for children. They want to sacrifice for a man in the house. So they end up eating little food. Not knowing that that little food they're eating is having contribution effect on the labor force that will come later. But what I'm saying is that after eating little food, then they go and casual labor in other people's farms to get food. Casual laboring was the main strategy to get more food. But up to 70% of women are doing casual labor, look for food. But we are saying that casual labor is not helping at all. Actually, it's making women more vulnerable. The implication here is that cutting down meal choice is not by choice. Limits productivity, limits food production, and leads to health incomes among women and children. So we have already seen that low harvest leads to high food prices. This was one of the findings that we got from our study. One of the reasons that led to increased food prices was low harvest. And women are the one engaged in cultivation. So that is the implication of having low food intake. So what do we do in the short time? There is need to leverage on local government and culturally struck institutions, the mandate to ensure food security at community level. We have already found that there is a small opportunity where cultural leaders and local government can enforce certain bylaws and ordinances to have food in the house. There must be food in the house, the storage, the keeping of food. There must be something which is by force in the house. Like we said, most of these communities cultivate food, but you don't find people are sleeping hungry. There's no food in the house because it's only the woman who is trying to cultivate and it's eaten up. Some of the food is actually sold away by the man. So supporting backyard gardening to female households can also improve food during emergency situations. The second last question was on, actually this is the last, are women forced to stay in violent relationships? Our study found out that 54% of households were reporting domestic violence, but only 17% actually left that household. People are actually staying in a household where there is fighting almost on a daily basis, but nobody wants to leave. So what is keeping them there? Why are women persevering violence in that household? What are the incentives behind that perseverance? So we need to find out that situation, that equation, that unanswered question, what keeps women in that, and address that root cause. Because as we go to say, men should do this, women should do this, we need to understand what's going on. So the role of food crisis in increasing domestic violence, it reflects a gender role, bigger gender role, household power dynamics in mobilization, and allocation of scarce household resources. So there is something that's beyond what we are seeing. So why we are saying men should stop fighting, or we are saying women should leave violent marriages, then we must answer some of those questions. What went wrong? What went wrong to the food in the house? What went wrong to the participation in the house to generate food? What went wrong in supporting farmers? And then other revenue sources. So these are some of the things we found worth sharing from our study in Northern Uganda. I'll request, I think I've not taken most of the time. I'll request my colleague to say a few things, and that will be always for your questions. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, he had initially wanted to bring in his female colleague to speak the second segment, but he eventually led both. Thank you very much for your time and tenacity. Let me take this time to recognize a few more dignitaries. Professor Bashir Usman is former Vice Chancellor, the old Federal University of Technology, Yola, which transited into Modibo Adama University. He's been an accomplished professor of education. He moved on to become the Executive Secretary of National Commission of Nomadic Education. He has been a top leader, administrator, community servant, who has given his all to various communities and indeed the country. May I ask Professor Bashir Hamma Usman to stand to be recognized? Thank you. Yes, another gentleman. National headquarters. I think he is a great person to so recognize. Do we still have outstanding partner presentations? So, any outstanding partner presentations? Okay, it appears we have ended it. So I'm privileged to recognize, before I am easily called a bloody civilian, let me recognize General Muhammad Abubakar Adamu, a community leader, former head of the Nigerian Army Cyber Security segment. He has done considerable humanitarian work in the military and out of the military. And in the ICT world and the Nigerian military, he's a force to be reckoned with. General Adamu is a distinguished leader of Fudeco. So I think it's now time to do the final part, which is remarks by some invited guests. If we have a list, then we'll call them one after the other, and then advise that we should be very snappy because we've taken considerable time doing the presentations, which we have earlier allocated, only 10 minutes. But virtually all the presentations took up to 10 minutes, which means we are more than 30 minutes behind schedule. So if we can summarize our comments to between 2 to 3 minutes, the goodwill or the remarks, then it will be good enough. While checking the list, may I begin with Ambassador Hassan Jika. He has a few remarks to make, and then Guy Jobbins should stand by. He will be the next in line after Ambassador Hassan Jika. Do we bring the microphone to your table? We want to come on stage. Yeah, okay. Most of the audience would like to see who is this gentleman, who for many years has led the Nigerian embassy in Trinidad and Tobago and has done it creditably well. I think the step, yeah, step is this way. Thank you.
Please permit me to stand on the already established protocol and to say a few words. But before I say anything, I would like to stress something. I have seen a very incisive research work from our presenters here. But I think there is something that we also need to dwell in seriously, go into research regarding conflict across the Sahel that involve pastoralists and other people living around. We need to go into that to find out exactly what is the cause of this conflict so that it will enrich our research work and then provide solutions to some of the issues that we are facing across African countries. Not only that, we also need to link up with government. I think most of the government have done a lot of work across in order to resolve crisis. But I think there's a missing link between pastoralists and those that call themselves as citizens. We need to define that who is a citizen and what is expected of you as human being, and then to translate that humanity to your fellow human beings across the globe. We are all from Adam, and we know that as human beings, we are quite distinct from other creatures. That is the sense of reasoning and the way and manner we do our things and the way we relate. So we need to go into that seriously, because over the years, you find out that somebody will just sit down and say, this person is not supposed to be here. While we talk about the laws of the land that guarantees movement across the country, not only Nigeria, other neighboring countries or African countries. If you take the pastoralists from Mauritania, Senegal, Sudan, Central Africa, Gambia, Cameroon, Nigeria, and other countries, in each of these countries, you find this pastoralist in large number. Then there are laws guiding the ECOWAS protocol, movement of people from one country to the other, from one region to the other, or from one state to the other. We need to address that as well. Then we look at the Vienna Convention and the provision of international laws that we are expected to follow. We also need to train our people to be seen to be tolerant, because you cannot be tolerant to your fellow human beings unless you are fully educated and you know what it means to be tolerant to one another. We need to live as fellow human beings. Then what can you contribute to the society? Then appreciate some of the things that are being provided by government and guide your people, educate them, let them understand that we must live together as fellow human beings, and that is why we are created to interact with one another. Then we talk about girls' child. I think we also need to go back to our traditional norms and values, because in some of the societies, we don't value women. But that is a very wrong notion and a wrong perception, that we need to know that women are partners with the men. Some people are misquoting one of the verses in the Holy Quran, Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala Nisa. They are misquoting that verse, thinking that women must always be under the men. Women are meant to be trained to be independent. We have women of virtue who have lived in life and have done a lot in the society, has contributed a lot, and they are living independent life. So we need to guide them. Even if it's your wife is your partner, is your friend, it's somebody that you can share ideas with, you can reason with. Everybody has something to contribute in life. I think if we use that, then we'll have a very fantastic society. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Jiga. As he retires to take his seat, may I invite Mr. Peter Audu, representative of the Honorable